And here we are. Hello, hello, my friends. Jola Pypno-Crapanzano here with Coaching Journey with Jola. And as always, I won't disappoint. This time I'm taking you on a journey to beautiful Prince Island in Canada, to my gorgeous friend, Tracy Gaudet. How are you, Tracy? Welcome.
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you so much for having me.
I am beyond excited, my friends, because you may know a lot of things about me, but one of these things that I am crazy about is to learning new things. And I'm this student of life, and when I master one thing, I'm immediately looking to learn something new. And me and Tracy got to know each other a few months ago when we became accountability partners through the Academy in London. Then we joined together. And it was my first time really touching up on the feminine aspects of spiritual work, of all that stuff that, I'll be honest, hand on the heart, I won't lie, I called woo-woo in the past.
Oh,
And
me too.
listen, it's something that, I'm not ashamed to admit, and yet the more I get deeper and deeper and deeper, things start making a lot of sense. Synchronicities, coincidences, call it whatever you want. So here we are with my beautiful friend Tracy. We're going to dig deep today and actually tell you stuff that perhaps just like you, like me, you never heard about. Let's see what happens. So let me introduce you, my beautiful friend. She has so many accomplishments. I actually have to use a list because I don't want to miss out. So first of all, Tracy is a soul alchemist. I love this title. Soul alchemist, talk to my soul, baby. Talk to it. Okay, so Tracy is a certified law of attraction life coach.
That was the gateway.
Akashic Records reading and healing specialist. She can take us on a shamanic journey. She's a psychic intuitive. She also is a healer of different chakras, right? She has a capacity of doing angelic and galactic healing. I didn't even know what it is. EFT, which is the tapping, right?
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
As well as she is also a creator of Ascension Alchemy method. Wow, that's so much knowledge, so much powerful stuff that I'm beyond excited to dig deep. So Tracy, before we go on, tell me first, because I like to ask this question, how are you in this pandemic? I know you are in this sort of safe space, right? It's not, you're not that much touched by this nonsense that's happening by us.
Yeah, we're in a really good space now. We haven't had any cases in about almost 3 weeks, I'd say. So restrictions are being lifted. My kids can go on sleepovers, like people are allowed in my house. So it's actually a really magical time here because it's spring, the weather's getting beautiful, people are getting out and like really appreciating it so much more. That's what I'm noticing. Is I even noticed last Saturday I was kind of driving somewhere to a store or something like that, and I just noticed it felt like the people were buzzing around, like everybody's in their yard and everybody's out and everybody seems so kind of like, I don't know, friendly and grounded, and it just, I don't know, it's a lovely space right now. I mean, this is what I'm noticing.
Can I tell you, I said it a couple of times, I almost feel guilty to admit how happy I am to be able to experience so many things that I wasn't able to do in years. Like in years, I dream about having the moments that I now have. Obviously, it wasn't exactly the scenario that we're in, but sort of, like I wanted to have the time to develop, to discover, to do. And so I'm so freaking happy. It's beyond.
It's true.
And to have time with my family, to have time with them and be with them. And anyhow.
Yes.
So that's awesome. That's so good. I actually have never been in your neck of the woods. I would love to actually discover. In Canada, I only visited Vancouver and Montreal. So your part of the country is still unknown to me. So one day.
Yeah, it's very, very peaceful here. I'd call it peaceful. Yeah, that's why I like the roots here.
Wonderful. So let's start. So my darling Tracy, when was the first time in your life that you started feeling somewhere here? Because now I know it all starts from heart, not head, from heart. When you start feeling in your heart that you wanted to be of service, that you had some sort of gift in you that you wanted to help other people.
Yes. Okay, so let's see. So I find my journey with this is kind of like more like a spiral. And I find that's the case for most of the things. So it's kind of like, I remember even as like a young child, I had a lot of younger siblings and I would always want to teach them. So that aspect of kind of being the teacher and being the leader, bossy as a kid, right? But that had always come up for me here. My earbuds don't want to stay in, they're too excited. So that aspect had always come up for me, that kind of teacher aspect. And then I always kind of had this nurturing aspect, this connection to nature, this intuitive kind of connection, which I never even really recognized until I officially started my spiritual journey later in my 20s. But I kind of always had that aspect, was always drawn to like oracle cards and magic spells and everything like that. So I always kind of had that intuitive connection. And then it was probably after the birth of my first of 3 children that I started kind of asking the question as to, what do I really want to do? How do I want to show up and serve? So there was a 6-year period there where I was just basically birthing children, and I had 3 kids altogether, but birthing children and then getting to know kind of myself and what I wanted. And I would try trying all different things from like travel agency to like wedding planning and just kind of like figuring out how I wanted to serve. I knew that I wanted to, I definitely know I wanted to create like an impact for people. I wanted to help people. I wanted to support people. But understanding how I wanted to do that continued to evolve. Actually, the first phase of it was when I opened my virtual assistant company. That was about 10 years ago or so. And I really, really enjoyed that aspect, even the organizational aspect, the business aspect, creating websites. Like that's when I started. Like, it's funny because we're talking about such spiritual topics now, but it was actually these really grounded business
Masculine things, yes,
masculine
exactly.
things.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. That's
But
where I come from.
yes,
That was
yeah.
also for you the beginning, sort of. That's awesome. That's a good thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It is. And I can see why we resonate really well too, because like you, I'm just like in that space of always wanting to learn, always like that energy of curiosity, and then kind of like learning and pulling that in as a part of myself and saying, who am I now? What can I do now? How can I serve now? So it was just kind of always that process. And my spiritual journey started about when I started my business, which businesses tend to do that. They tend to really break us open, don't they? So once that began, then I started kind of reconnecting into the things like from my childhood, reconnecting into earth energy, into like this fairy realm and this kind of possibilities of magic. And then that's where like, then the law of attraction and all of that kind of came back into my awareness, that I had played with that previously. And so as that came back into my awareness with my virtual assistant business, the company that I had then, it was at the place where I had some people hired. And so I could dedicate almost all of my time to my spiritual journey. So I dove in head first. And I still approach my spiritual journey the same way today, which is just basically what's lighting me up right now. What do I really want to dive into? I dive into it. I'd learn it. I'd experience it, just the exact same as you're doing right now, right?
Yes.
So I just started doing that. And like I mentioned before, the law of attraction was kind of like my gateway drug to it, right? Then I kind of got into the chakra healing, the EFT tapping, and all of that. And then once I was like really seeing the difference in myself and really seeing one of the things that I'm quite gifted at and kind of is my specialty is moving through resistance, moving through blocks, letting go of old programming, very similar to the work that you're doing, really, letting go of this old programming and really moving closer to who you are on a core level, who you are on a soul level. So once I started to see that impact in myself, then I was like, obviously I want to help other people with it. So then I started kind of serving people on a different level where I was kind of teaching them how to connect to their spirit guides, how to go about their own spiritual journey, what that means and how that can be uniquely yours. So that was really the first time that I started like sparking, I guess, about really serving. And then from there, there just came a point where I could no longer focus on the virtual assistant business just because my vision and my connection to this soul alchemy, which I didn't call it then, I think I call it intuitive happiness coach or something like that. I've gone through a lot of different evolutions, right?
Evolved, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And so it really just continued to spiral from there. And so this kind of deep desire to always want to help empower people to get back to really the truth of who they are and then express from that place. Like that's it for me. That is That's number one.
It's the fascinating stuff. It is like the idea that someone can come to your life, and regardless of what method, what knowledge, what tool, what strategy you use, if you can impact that human being with whatever you know, right?
I love it.
Phenomenal. So I remember I was so attracted to one thing you said on our first conversation on the phone months ago, when you said that you do things that feel right for you, that kind of flow with what you feel inside. And, you know, I got so attracted to that. I met maybe 2 other people in my life who had that life policy, and it was so foreign for me. Like, I was always the girl that would push and push and hustle and constantly in control, all these masculine things, you know, use strategies, get results, if it's on paper, formulas, da da da. And I'm like, what is she talking about? And like, you know, and then I said, but that's what I want. That's exactly what I want. Because what it is, perception is projection, right? And so it's just like phenomenal. And I'm like, oh my God. So I started learning, and I will tell you, I got the deep, and I always do that. I don't just scratch the surface. So I was studying Akashic Records.
I love it.
As deep as into reading of Akashic cards. And just as a curiosity, I want to share with you guys, look at the card I pulled in today. It's funny. It is funny how accurate this stuff is. It's absolutely funny and crazy in the same time. It's about birth, about starting new project, giving birth to a new thing. And I am actually working on this crazy new thing that I will reveal in, you know, hopefully short time. It's just amazing project that's been inside my head for a long time. And now things start finally coming together. But today it's not about me. It's about my beautiful friend Tracy. And I told her I'm going to pick her brain and really ask her questions that, you know, like, I don't know. I'm sure a bunch of you guys don't know, but let's see if we have any viewers live online. First of all, again and again, I forgot to welcome everyone who's with us live. And so I'd like to correct that mistake and say hello to people who are watching us. Hi guys, it's awesome to have you live. Basha, Maria, very nice. Awesome, guys. Please feel free to leave us questions if you have anything as we go. We tend to them at the end, so we don't get distracted while we speak. Anyhow, how should I put it? So many questions, I don't even know where to start. Let's start from the beginning.
Sure. And I just want to say something really quickly too that kind of occurred to me. So just as you were saying how you kind of came from this place of really this masculine energy, right? And really this hustle, this go, this do, which is like the paradigm that we're all kind of like living in and slowly moving out of right now. So that was a big part of my journey as well, right? That was the web design, that was the virtual assistant company. And I did hustle into burnout so many different times. And that's what prompted my desire to move into that feminine energy and move into the flow more. So just kind of like to the viewers out there, like if you find you are in this masculine energy, it's take the first step to start moving towards a more kind of aligned flow that feels really, really good to you, because it's such a relief. It's such a beautiful process.
Yeah. And you know what I'm finding, that I think I always am the person who tried to find the golden middle. Yes, the golden Mitte in German, whatever you call it, is the balance, right? So not necessarily go just to one side and that's it, forget the other. The balance. I loved to have a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and just to navigate through life using, because both you know sides have very strong features. You know, if you are just purely feminine, you're gonna miss out as well, because you need that routine in life, you need the structure.
Oh, absolutely. Otherwise you're just floating off and away.
I sometimes have a hard time to actually connect with people who are totally in the left field, because I don't know how to understand them.
Exactly. Yes. I joke sometimes that I had to go through all those years of understanding the masculine and then straight understanding the feminine, so I could come to a place of balance where I can actually be grounded and speak like a normal person, but also still follow my flow.
Yes. So maybe we'll start with this. So you're the creator of the alchemy and ascension alchemy method. So let's start with this. What really ascension means in that spiritual, because obviously in religious meaning is different meaning in business, but in a spiritual meaning, how would you briefly describe it? And what do you do with that?
And then I'll also say too, anytime I'm talking about anything or teaching anything, I always tell everybody, and to any teachers that you're watching, take what resonates with you and leave the rest. If I'm saying something that you're like, I don't know, don't feel like you have to take it on as a belief. Absolutely not. Go with what aligns to you. So this is from my perspective and my experience, is that the ascension process is basically just the spiritual evolution. So the ascension process is just that process of getting back to your core, getting back to your empowerment.
I'm an example.
You're an example. You are an example. You are going through this ascension process. This is us reclaiming our empowerment and reclaiming our divine mission and our divine genius so that we can show up as the puzzle pieces that the world needs, and kind of really filling our place by becoming who we really are. So this is the ascension process to me. It's dropping away all of these things that don't serve us, that we don't need anymore, and asking the questions, what feels better here? What feels more aligned? What feels like a more expansive, more grounded, more peaceful future for me? And then just making small changes accordingly. These could be, environmental things. Like in your house, you can be doing ascension work in your house by decluttering. That's a version of ascension to me, because you're coming back to who you are, right? So there's a lot that I would include in the word ascension, but basically for me, it's anything that brings you back into who you are and to reclaim who you are and then to express who you are. Yeah. That's ascension for me.
That is amazing that you said that. Oh my God, that just resonates so much. So I got so attracted to the whole idea of feng shui, and making sure that you aligned, that your house is, like you said, decluttered, organized, that you have. Again, not everybody will, like my kids are a little bit laughing at me when I talk about the directions, about certain stuff in house and this and that. But guess what? Why not to give it a try? Again, you may not want it, but if it's said that the 30% of success may depend on how your environment looks like, because they say, right, if how you do anything is how you do everything. So obviously if you have a mess around you, like, which is a very good reminder for me, when I finish my exams right now and all that, I'm actually diving deep now into decluttering stuff in my house too, which looks normally very organized, but I know spaces, those drawers, those
the secret ones,
dark corners, nobody's.
It's true though, because whenever those things, and that's one of the things that I do after I launch a business program, is sometimes, I don't know if you're anything like me, but after I launch something, I feel like I want to be doing more, but there's nothing else for me to do promotion wise right at that time. Say it's 9 o'clock at night or something like that, and I've done my piece, then I will shut everything down and I will scrub my floors or sweep or vacuum. And that energy flow, and especially in the entryway, from feng shui, I'll do the entryway and put a lovely crystal there and a plant. And sales come in whenever I do that. So I totally agree that there's magic in that too.
Oh, and I also didn't mention that you also big on crystals. And that's another area. I remember I heard about crystals for the first time, again, maybe last year. And I've seen stores with crystals, and I walked into museums filled with crystals, and I never understood. So that's honestly, everywhere I look, there is something that talks to me. Learn more. I'm like, you have to relax.
Yes, and this is the thing that happens with spiritual journeys too, is they just spiral so much that, and then sometimes people get overwhelmed, and I just say, just come back, breathe into your heart and say, what's highest and best for me to focus on right now? Because you always are your best guidance system. You're always going to know the best things that are going to pull out your soul gifts. So
So I again will use example of my own journey. So I started with something as simple as, I did not know how to meditate. I never did meditate. Meditation for me was the piece of, I don't understand, I don't need it. I was active athlete, workout. Meditation wasn't a piece of it. And then I started, and I noticed how scattered I was. The presence was something I started working on, to be present, to be actually in a place, quiet down, right? And so with that came the next piece. Wow, how about these chakra centers? How about the clearing them? Sometimes I had issues with saying things. Well, foreign language, I speak few of them. So yeah, sometimes it's a matter of language, but then no, it's not about the language. It's about the throat chakra being blocked, and then just opening certain things. And I remember when the pandemic started, and I just went through my root chakra cleaning, and I said to my husband, we're going to the store, we're buying stuff, we need to be prepared, we need to be. He's like, what's going on? Guess what? 2 days later, everything exploded, and we were so peaceful because we were prepared. So it's amazing how that works. I will give you one more example. I had with my coach, I had this opening of another chakra that I cannot remember because I'm still not as proficient at this. But it was about receiving, receiving of energy, receiving of abundance.
Probably the sacral chakra.
That's right. Yeah. And guess what? 10 minutes after this call was ended, I received a check. I received money from someone I didn't expect. It landed on my, Apple Pay, and I was like, this was amazing, like absolutely amazing. So yeah, so those are the things that really get me thinking, that do not discredit this. Do not just please do not. Anyway, so chakras.
Have an experience. Yes. Having an experience with it. Totally. And this is what I say, because I come from a very logical place too, right? So I've always had that underlying intuitive side, but I come from the logical place where I had to move through a lot of programming that, well, this stuff is all BS. Well, this can't be real. And still now, like every time I say something when I'm doing a reading for somebody or something, oh, it's so accurate. Oh, and I'm always still a little tiny bit surprised. Like I understand I'm tapped into that energy, but still there's that underlying kind of logical mind that's like, really? So it's just about seeing the evidence for yourself.
Yeah. I'll share something with you. So in December, I have a friend in England, and she just gave me, by the way, if she ever listens, Louise, how are you? She gave me this reading, and I'm like, holy, this is incredibly accurate. And I was not big on that stuff. I said, what are you doing? So she told me the cards she was using, and I purchased the cards. That wasn't even the ones I was showing you. There were different oracle cards. And I actually picked it up, and I started playing with it since January, just pull a card here and there. And every single one of them was to the T. I said, what is this, magical hands? What's going on? And I said to myself, so I did it for like 4 people so far, 4 or 5 people. And they were blown away by accuracy. And I'm like, how could it be? Like, how could it be? So just exactly what you're saying. Like, how could it be? Yeah. So from that, we're going to move into something that really got me so excited, that there is this, okay, I'm a Catholic, I believe in God, so for me, universe, God, I put it into the one space for me, yes?
Yeah.
But there is this thing called Akashic Records, which I believe is that space where everything else flows, the universe and God and us, right? And we all, I will actually let you talk about this, because I've read, I can talk a little bit, but you are the guru. So when I heard that word first, even the word itself got me like this insight. What is it? Like, what is it? Yeah. So please tell us, what are the records?
Absolutely. So, and again, here's another place where this is my perspective, my experience. So my own work in the records, and I'll explain about kind of what they are in just a moment, but my own work in the records has evolved a whole lot over the last maybe 5-6 years or so that my understanding of the records has evolved quite a bit as well. So just really quickly too, seeing how people can merge the religion and the spirituality, I love that so much, right? So in the Bible, it would be known as like the book of life, right? So that's the connection into the Akashic Records, right? But that's another aspect too. So just even if you have a religion that you're following and that you're dedicated to, just kind of opening, and sorry if you can hear my dog barking upstairs there, but just being open to what else could spirituality mean to me, and what else can connect into this that feels like truth. So I just love seeing those two connect. And I have an Akashic Records course that I teach, and one of the women who took it is religious as well, and she incorporates that into her teachings. It's really quite beautiful. So from my perspective, the Akashic Records are, number one, Akasha is just the energy. That's everything. This is the energy field. This is the quantum field. This is, science Science is getting real close here.
Hello,
So
Albert Einstein. Hello, how are you?
yeah, exactly, right. And Irvin Laszlo, if anybody's interested in like the scientific aspect of this, Irvin Laszlo is a really amazing scientist and author of a couple of books. Science in the Akashic Field is one that, if you want to know the scientific side of things, it's pretty mind-blowing actually how science is matching up with this information. Okay, so the Akashic Field is just everything, right? It's just, we're all interconnected. We are all basically in this sea of energy at all times. And the sea of energy at all times is what allows us to, so say for example, when you're pulling a card for somebody, you're connecting into their energy field because it's all connected together. You're effectively creating a portal in the Akashic Field to their energy, and you're working with that and then channeling through the card as it came through. So that's basically what's going on there. Whenever you're talking about Akashic Records, you're talking about an organized system, kind of just like the chakra system, an organized system that contains your soul story, right? So everything that your soul has ever gone through, any resistance patterns, any trauma, any soul gifts, any old memories, and of like, we're going to get into past lives in a minute, I think. Anything like that. It's so much fun, right? So that's kind of really basically how I like to see it. So everybody has their own Akashic records, which they can tap into. And this is a very kind of like sacred spiritual space. So that if you are wanting to access your Akashic records, the most important thing that you need is to have a connection to your heart, is to have an open heart chakra, which really means self-acceptance. This really means this: the more you're working on your sense of self-acceptance, the more your intuitive abilities are going to open, and the more you're going to be able to connect into your Akashic records. It's very heart-based, very heart-based. And in fact, when I'm guiding people to the Akashic records, because I'll guide people there in my course and through like a guided journey, through a guided meditation. And for our logical mind, I'm always saying, you know, we're going up a spiral staircase or up an elevator, but realistically, we're going deeper into our heart chakra, deeper into our DNA, where this information is really held. So there's a lot of different places I could go here, but that's the basics of it.
Yeah, and another thing that fascinated me more, and maybe you can tap on it, I actually put this into description in one of my groups about this interview. Would you like to know about your future? Because it's also related to the future. Everything is written. But the most fascinating piece about this is that it doesn't mean that it's fixed, because we have the ability to tap into those records and rewrite them so that they can be actually different, right? Yeah. I found this story fascinating, that a woman was supposed to go for an interview, and she read, she had this thing in, she tapped into the records, whatever, and she learned that it's gonna go terribly bad. So she kind of rewrote her future by changing outfit, changing the whole way they were supposed to, and she crashed it. Like, who knows what would have happened if she actually went that first original route, yes? So it is that gives people hope, because, you know, obviously, if you found out that everything is already written for you, that you can do nothing about it, then would be very depressing, actually.
It'd be very disempowering.
And we don't want it. We want to feel good about stuff. So that's fantastic. So, we'll talk about your offerings at the end of this, but I was curious, if someone wanted to use Akashic records for their own, so basically they could either, you know, use one of the courses or read upon them, and basically dropping from the head to the heart and start, you know, through I actually learned a few techniques how the best to use Akashic records. So open your mind, do often meditations, the deep breathing, and basically, you know, drop to the heart and start feeling it. So it's very intuitive, yeah?
Absolutely, yes. And then what I noticed too in my experience, and then teaching students as well, is that everybody has such a beautiful, unique connection to their records. So I'll teach a method of accessing the records that's basically foolproof. It's going to work for everybody because you're clearing your energy off first. The number one reason we can't access our Akashic records is because we believe we can't. We have these programs and, you know, these limiting programs that, you know, who am I to do this? Who am I to access this information and connect into this healing? So once those things are put aside, that's great. But now, after they've accessed it, and I always say it's a relationship that you're developing with the records, because it very much is. After they've learned to access it, then I say, what feels good to you? How do you want to access it? How, like, what's your connection point? How do you want to work with them? Really dig into the creativity there, because everybody's going to access them in their own way, which is, it's so beautiful, mind-blowingly beautiful to me.
Yeah, and I've read that they all around us. Some people can find them in the rocks, in the
Yeah,
trees,
everything.
even in your environment, in people,
Yes.
in your thoughts, in your dreams, whatever, right?
Yes.
So that's something that, again, it's a next level, and some people may not be ready for it. I certainly wasn't a few years ago. Now I'm getting there. So
Yeah.
so very interestingly enough, the Akashic Records come really close to the training that I just completed with timeline therapy, where
Yes.
you actually are able to access your past or future. You float above your timeline and you can rewrite your past. You can get rid of unbelievable limiting decisions and beliefs. There were really for 40, 50. I mean, I had a woman in a training with us who was afraid of heights. And on the spot, this phobia of heights was removed from her. She immediately climbed the ladder and went to this big dam and stepped by the, I mean, crazy stuff. We had a training where you were able to just remove so many limiting decisions that basically stop you in your tracks. So that stuff with timeline therapy and Akashic Records, it's phenomenal. I mean, it's so powerful. I love it. That's why I digged into it. But the next topic, if you don't mind, and it's connected to the past, is something that I have a hard time understanding. So in some of these procedures, which are very scripted in timeline therapy, you have an access if your unconscious mind tells you go to your past lives. I had a hard time with that. See, I'm not there yet. Like, I still used my conscious mind. My conscious mind was tapping in, oh, there's no past life. Well, what past life? So, and yet I want to ask, how could it be? And that gives me this inkling that there must be somewhere there. And we'll give you an example. I always, as a kid, I always wanted to travel. Travel was my deep desire ever since I was little. And I wanted to go so badly the first time to see the sea. We were about 600 kilometers away from the sea. So quite far. So finally, when I was a kid, like I don't remember what age, but I went to the sea, and I remember walking to this big cliff, and I already hear the waves crashing, and it's amazing, the feeling inside. And first time, mind you, first time ever. And I stood on top of the cliff. I looked out there and I said, wow, gorgeous, but I've been here before.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, no, the
Doesn't
first
make
deja
sense.
vu experience was so strong that I will never forget it. The second time it happened when I traveled to Japan. Obviously, I've never been to Japan before. It was my first time. Once I got there, I knew I was there before. So please explain, is this connected to past lives? That's stupid.
Sure. So, and I love the way that you're talking about the timelines as well, because that's often how I see it in the Akashic Records. So when you were giving that example of the woman who, had this sensation that it wasn't, her interview wasn't going to go well, the same way that I can see that is kind of like a message coming from the Akashic Records that you're holding on to a certain belief system or a certain energy that's going to create this outcome, right? So when I'm looking at the Akashic Records, there's no future. There's nothing set in stone. It's potentials. And these potentials are created. Absolutely. It's potential timelines, right? Create it from your beliefs, create it from your thoughts, create it from your actions, right? What energy are you emitting? So it works very much with the law of attraction, which is cool to have those two things connected there. But the way that I'm seeing it is basically that, well, I believe in past lives because I've had too many weird things happen that that it just kind of like clicks and connects in, right? But again, I tell everybody, just take what feels right to you. And if the word past life is kind of weird, then what about like your soul's history? What about like your soul memory? And not only are you tapping in, and I'm not differentiating too much from the energy of like ancestral energy, so that you may have memories that have come down in your ancestral line, genealogical. And I mean, there's science out there that shows that those memories are held, even trauma is held.
Yes.
So ancestral energy, past life energy, parallel life energy, future life energy, all of this stuff I kind of just put together in one as just the soul experience, right? So sometimes when this information comes through, sometimes I will ask, what's this from? But other times I just kind of just accept it as it's something that I am here to be healing and transmuting, or something I am here to re-embody. And I'll just share one real quick thing. And another super fun thing, I'm going all over the place. I can go anywhere with
I
this.
love it. I love it.
Love it. So like what I would suggest, if you are kind of curious about past life work, source out a guided journey, a guided meditation, just to connect into that energy, just to connect into the possibility of it, and just see what comes up for you. Because even if you're just kind of doing it just like as an experiment to have fun with, it's always fun to see what comes up, and if something comes up to enrich your life. So just something that I did last week, and it actually took me back to something that happened to me when I was 18, which is really cool. How you were saying traveling to places and remembering. I traveled to Rome when I was 18, and I remember walking around and just, I had this feeling that I've never had before in my life. And it was very much, it was a remembering, but it was like also a connection into like this divine feminine conscious. It was all the things I couldn't explain. I wrote a whole bunch of stuff in my journal about it, and then just kind of left it. And I do have a picture of the Roman Colosseum up in my living room that I took. And that's fine. That's always just been there. And then last week I took a journey into a past life where I was reconnecting to a lifetime where I had mastered this intuitive connection, this channeling connection, right? Because I always like going back into other lifetimes, pulling in these gifts and seeing how it affects my life, right? So I did this journey last week, and I have never had a more detailed account of a past life, down to the year, down to what I was doing, what I was wearing, where I was at, everything was there. And then of course I go Google it later and the stuff matches up. And that's when your mind gets really blown and you're just like, geez,
Wow.
it's crazy,
Wow.
crazy.
This is crazy. Like you had no reason to know that. It's just no logical reason, right? Like
no logical reason. Why would I know in my mind when it was dissolved that people were no longer allowed to like worship feminine goddesses and that goddess energy, and Christianity completely took over in Rome right at this time period when I was going through the memory. And then I Googled it and I was like, that's the same time. And so as I was connecting into that, it also brought up the memory of when I had traveled to Rome whenever I was when I was 18. And when I walked upstairs and I looked at the picture and I was just like, I remembered, like, it was just like, it all came flooding back. It's so cool. But since I had that connection just last week, my channeling abilities have been expanding even further. I've been getting really clear connection and this kind of beautiful feminine divine support and flow. So whatever it is, wherever it's coming from, I will take it.
How about this? I also, and please correct me if I'm wrong. So I have this incredible attraction to Latin music, and basically all people from the south of Europe. So, I am just incredibly like attracted to all of that temperament and all that. And I thought to myself, what if in the former lives I was somehow that's why I feel it so much. And then in one of the readings came up to me some sort of like a, I don't know how to call it. I don't want to sound in any shape or form judgmental, but I always am fascinating about these families when there are multiple wives and just one man. And I'm like, why? And it goes for the Arabic culture, it goes about here in the United States, somewhere in Utah, all that. I was like, what is this? Came up some sort of like a slavery type of thing. I mean, like, it's crazy stuff. It's all coming to me out of nowhere.
Spiritual journey.
Yes, it's just unbelievable. So listen, it's not influencing my daily life, but it exists, and it's an interesting stuff. Whoa, Tracy, I could go on and on and on, and I'm not done with you. Please don't leave me yet. I have a couple more questions.
No, please.
And it's we're just stopping, but those are the questions that really were born from studying that stuff. So the next thing is so how would you connect past lives with karma? Do you believe in karma?
So the word karma, I don't know. This is the thing too. A lot of the words that we're using, they have so many connotations with it and so many connections. So I call it energetic patterns, but it is basically that. I could call it karmic energy as well. So basically, yes, what I do believe is that we come into each incarnation, each lifetime. Before we do, we set up our contracts. We work with our guides and we say, hey, this is the stuff that I want to master. These are the lessons I want to learn. These are the experiences that I want to have in this beautiful earth plane. I always consider earth is like a school, right? I've always seen it as a school. So I want to come down here and I want to learn these things. And so as we're going and, taking these experiences, sometimes there's going to be certain traumatic events, or there's going to be certain gifts. And I would call that the energetic pattern, that the karmic energy that maybe past, and I mean, I've done a lot of work on this for myself. So maybe, for example, in a past lifetime, I learned that it wasn't safe to share my message, to share my spiritual gifts because of the Inquisition, because of the witch trials, all this stuff, right? Yes. So that energetic pattern would go in my body so that anytime I wanted to speak up and share my intuitive abilities, I would literally feel like I was going to die. Like the heart would be racing. I would be like scared my family was going to betray me. Like, crazy stuff that logically is not going to happen in this day and age. So that I would consider that kind of karmic energy, that an energetic pattern that I would say, okay, I witnessed this. I see it here now. And I know that I'm done with it. I know that this timeline of being in fear is complete, and I would let it go, and I would release.
It's like anything you're out of the closet, you're out there, baby.
Exactly. And that's like awareness. That's the first thing, right? Awareness. And I would imagine it's something similar to the timeline therapy that you work with. You bring awareness to it and you bring a new type of energy to it, right? So then I would, so say, for example, if I was working with that karmic energy, that energy pattern, I would send healing to it, and I would send releasing to it and forgiveness to it. And even I could journey into the specific past lives and send healing to the family that I felt betrayed me there, and this and that. So I do feel like there is a certain amount of kind of like this energy pattern, this karmic energy that we're all working through, but it could also just be known as kind of like life lessons and things like that too. So it's all stuff that we're here because we all want to be our puzzle piece. We all want to do the part in this global ascension. And so part of that is letting go of those patterns.
That's fantastic. And you actually tapped on the next question I had for you, which was the spiritual guides and guides. I had taken a course through Mind Valley, I believe it was, and it was something about, like talking to these guides, pick a couple guides, and I was like, what they're talking about? It was just like first time, oh, you see that the beam of light. What beam of light? I don't see any light. What are you talking about? So again, these guides are, it says it could be a woman, it could be a man, it could be somebody that's alive, it's some character from the story. It doesn't matter. Please enlighten me about the guides.
Sure. Okay. In a small period of time, what is highest and best to share about guides today? Okay. So the way that I see guides, I guess I'll speak a little bit about my own experience with them. So my own experience with them, as I had mentioned before, when I was a child, I had quite a connection with nature, which I still do. So I've always kind of resonated with like fairy guides, right? This beautiful kind of earth connection fairy guide. So that was it for me. And then as I continued and started my spiritual journey, it turned out that archangels were what was really calling me. Like out of nowhere, these archangels started showing up, especially Archangel Michael. He was the one who woke me up, like really woke me up. Like I would hear knocking, like it was almost creepy to the point where I was like, hey, you got to stop doing this because it's weird. Like once I made the decision to open to my spiritual journey, open my clairsenses, open my intuitive and psychic abilities, I would hear like a knocking on the door, and I'd go out and I'd look and I'd be like, what's going on? And then I could never, it took me forever to grasp it until I started doing automatic writing is actually when it came through to me, where I started, it was the first time I actually channeled an angel, which I had never done before. But angels are just a version of spirit guides. Archangels are a version of spirit guides. Like you said, spirit guides can be like pretty well anything, right? I work with a lot of animal spirit guides, a lot of archangel spirit guides, a lot of ascendant masters. So like I'd be working like with the energy of like Jesus and Mother Mary. It could be two that, you can clearly know who they are, right? So when you're doing this, you're just developing your relationship with your team. So it's like you hire coaches, you have these friends, you have these counselors here in the physical world, but you also have this spiritual team too. So much like when you're writing the contract before you enter this life as to what you want to experience and all those things, there's also basically like a sign-up sheet being like, who wants to help me through this? Who wants to help me remember who I am? Who wants to remind me that I am the co-creator of my life, right? Who wants to do this? And then there's going to be different guides or ancestral energies and things like that that stand up and stay there with you throughout your life. And different ones come in at different times. Crystals are another version of guides.
Oh, wow. I did not know that.
Well, anything can be guides, like trees, flowers, anything that you are kind of really feeling drawn to. And the more you're opening up to it, the more it's going to become apparent to you, and their message are going to become quite apparent to you.
That is crazy. So basically it's very intuitive, like with everything else. It's whatever talks to you, whatever talks to your soul, is that it, yeah? That it will be the guide. So whatever you feel from your knowledge, from maybe, could we say that from your conscious knowledge that you have? Because, but yes, sometimes maybe the unconscious stuff also come out of nowhere, right?
Totally, but it does work with, and this is one thing that we learn in intuitive development when I'm helping people kind of open up to that aspect too, is that the information that you're going to get, so whether you hear it, you see it, you feel it, or you know it, the information you're going to get is going to be based on what's in your conscious awareness. So information from Disney movies can come through. Information from a commercial you saw might come through. Whatever comes through to deliver the message. So I find a lot of people, and myself included,
that makes sense, yeah.
They'd get very kind of judgmental and be like, well, no, that can't be intuitive information, that came from a show that I watched or something like that. But then really when you're going deeper into it and saying, what does that message mean to me? What does that animal all of a sudden popping into my head mean to me? And when you start to really ask these questions and ask them to your heart, kind of to the brain in your heart, that's whenever you start to be having the relationship, and it's a two-way conversation with your guides. And that's when, like, energetically, whenever I'm connected to somebody and they're really starting to open up to their guides, like, it's like party energy. Guides are, there's nothing more exciting. And especially archangel energy is just so powerful to work with. When you give them permission to give you messages, give you signs, it's mind-blowing.
That's amazing. And with going back to the pets and to animals, it is so true. We only have a pet for about a year and a half now, but I always loved animals. I was always drawn to them. I just wasn't ready to have, so the kids tricked us into an animal in the house. But now I can so totally see what it is, where the animal is fully present with you all the time and looks deep into your eyes, and it's so trustful for everything, and it's just like relying on you, give you just unconditional love over and over. So some people may just drawn from that energy. Totally, I can so see it, what you're saying, and the presence is that, oh my God, there's no other thing, doesn't matter, you the center of their attention, like 100%, and I love it. Oh my goodness, Tracy, one more thing, and before we wrap up, because I want to ask you one more thing, and that's a new topic again, but what is shamanic journey? What is it like? I always thought shamans were the people somewhere in some tribes. They were, burning stuff and doing these chants, down, 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 and then stuff was happening, and they were like almost like the magicians / witches. What is shamanism? What is the shamanic journey?
Sure. So yes, you are totally right in saying that. So shamanism is something that has gone back, as far back as history that we know of. So there's a lot of versions of it, right? There's tons of versions of it. The way that I use shamanic healing is it's very much in combination with the Akashic Records. So when we're tuning into the Akashic Records, we're tuning into the metaphysical field as well, right? So this is opening up another conversation, so I'll go light on this information. But so we're opening up to different dimensions. So here we're working in the third dimension. We're solid. We're pretty solid, right? But whenever we're connecting into the Akashic Records, we're working in different dimensions, right? And it doesn't mean
multidimensional.
Multidimensional, exactly right. So when we're doing shamanic journey work, it's basically just a deep guided meditation where whenever the person is, sorry, I close my eyes a lot whenever I kind of like remember and tune into the energy. But the person who is guiding the journey is holding this very powerful space. So it's kind of like that same vibration of like an energy healer or something. They're holding this vibrational space for you to be able to access deeper subconscious, access more aspects of your soul, so that you might go on a shamanic journey, for example, to say something is a challenge is coming up for you and you're not quite getting it. Maybe you're trying the mindset where, and you're just not quite getting past it. You're saying, what am I doing to block myself on this? So a shamanic journey would take you into your subconscious, and there would be visuals, there would be sounds, there would be different things that came through your intuitive senses. And so say, for example, I want to get more sales on this program. You may end up going into a shamanic journey where you're seeing a tree that is depleted. And then you have to give water, you have to give love, you have to give acceptance to that tree. And that's going to be a representation of maybe your own worth system or something like that. So it's basically, when you're doing shamanic journeys, it's like a representation of your subconscious energy and your energy field, where you can manipulate it, you can do healing on it, you can release what's not serving you. So that's how I work with shamanic journeys as well. And of course, yes, the word shaman can be absolutely, you know, really expanded out there, but that's my experience with them.
Yeah. And absolutely, last thing that I have for you is this. I remember I was really shocked when I was once told that every person has, for example, hypnotic abilities. They can be hypnotist. I'm like, no. Only certain dudes can put you in the hypnosis state. And then I learned that just by watching television, you are every single day in hypnosis. If you watch television, I do not watch television almost, yeah. But if I was, I would be within 2 minutes you're in hypnotic state. People don't know that. Yeah. But the same goes for psychic abilities, or some people just have it and some are not in tuned in it? Tell me about that, because you are the intuitive psychic. And I tell you the truth, I met in my life maybe 4 people who gave me the psychic readings. Last one happened in Bali last year. I had one of those eat, pray, love type of experience.
Oh, really?
It was so amazing. I actually I had a coaching retreat with my clients in Bali, and one of the first things that I did for them was that let's try a little bit of yoga, let's try a bit of this, and then we went for the reading, and it was a fascinating thing. And I honestly, until today, I wonder. This woman didn't speak a word of English. Her husband was translating, but the stuff she told me, the stuff she knew about me, it's just it's impossible to know. So how? Yeah. So this must be all connected as well. But the question is, though, some people just have the gift. Yeah.
No, anybody who has the desire can do it. So anybody who has the desire, if you have no interest and you're like, I don't know, that's BS, I'm not interested in that, then you're not going to access your psychic abilities. And that's fine. That's just not part of your life's journey. But if you are just like, man, that's cool, man, I'd like to do that, man, I'm fascinated by that, then you 100% have that access ability within you.
So I believe, therefore, my readings are so amazing because of that, because I was curious and I said, well, let me try. And because I started seeing how accurate the stuff is. And I think that, you know what, I came out of the closet by talking about it a little bit sort of today, because it's honestly so fascinating to me. I want to offer this as additional services. I have this solid high performance coaching practice, and that's something that I offer as a coaching series and stuff. But this is additional stuff that I can do because, you know, people have these blocks, like you say. People have limiting beliefs that stop them from going after the dreams. Why not to offer them just a little bit of inspiration, of motivation, of opening new doors? Absolutely. Tracy, you are a true gift. I swear to God, I am beyond blessed and happy that you appeared in my life, really. And I truly hope that one day we get to meet in person, and I would absolutely love. Actually, I joined your groups, which I would like you to tell us about, how you offer your help, how people can contact you and everything else. But before we do it, let's see if we have any questions.
Sure, yeah.
Sometimes people have questions, sometimes they're overwhelmed by these topics that they're not even feeling anything. Yeah, we don't have any questions, but I have amazing, very guys, thank you so much for watching us, everyone who's live right now with us. So yeah, if anyone has any questions in the future, they can drop them in a chat. Just put replay and drop the question below. Tracy will be happy to answer, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
But tell us how people can reach you. So give us your social media handle and talk about this group and about your, you know, free service that you have, the Sage level. That's the introductory level to your work.
I do. So the easiest place to find me is on Facebook, my Facebook group, which we'll probably link below or above, or we'll link it somewhere. But I have my Facebook group where I am active in that as well. I have my Facebook page as well. But I'd say the Facebook group is the best way to contact me. And then right from the Facebook group or my Facebook page, you get access to my Sage membership. So I have a membership portal called the Practical Ascension Portal, and has just a huge variety of spiritual journey resources in it, but I offer a free version of that. And that gives you, I don't know, maybe 7 or 8 guided journeys, and then different challenges, different energy work, different mindset work. So when we kind of started talking about it at the start, the Ascension Alchemy method, that's just energetic work, mindset work, and practical work. That's the way I teach all together. So
and for your shelf behind you.
Yes, exactly. Yes. So that gives you a taste of that. And if you're curious, I encourage you to reach out. There is guided journeys in there to work with the full moon energy, work with the new moon energy, work with your business fears and doubts, work with ancestral energy. So it's fun just to kind of like explore that. And if you find something that you resonate with, then great. And if not, then that's fine too. Yeah.
Yes. And it's amazing. And you will learn, and I can, you know, be a total, again, a proof of that, that once you start, you will notice people will appear in your life.
Yeah.
So I met through the book that I wrote an amazing lady, Sarah, in Australia. I actually started with Louise in England, then you in Canada. And like, it's literally like people just show up out of nowhere to give you this new insights, this new knowledge. And it's just phenomenal. Tracy, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so very much for your time. It was true pleasure. I hope that, you know, we can continue someday and go a little deeper. Maybe when I reach that next level again, I'll invite you again and we do more of that.
Absolutely. Yes.
Love it.
Thank
Listen,
you.
the best of luck with everything you love, sending you lots of love, and, you know, everything you do, just share that amazing energy that you have. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.